Support for the Working Theory podcast is provided by you. Thank you so much for listening. Be sure to follow or subscribe wherever you find us, and don't forget to share Working Theory with a friend. Thank you and enjoy the episode. I was so mad because I use a wireless, like not Bluetooth, like there's a plug-in little USB, but it's like a wireless keyboard,
Right.
but it is from like 2006 because it runs on
Right.
batteries, which means if I forget to turn it off, I don't have a keyboard anymore. And so I woke up this morning and tried logging in, and I didn't have a keyboard, so I had to use the actual laptop keyboard.
Gotta love that.
That's the misery I go through in my life. You got some misery going on. What's your whole appointment saga here?
Oh yeah,
Tell
no,
the
just
tell the masses.
oh yeah, no, yeah, the masses. That's a funny word. No, just your typical BS. Go to the doctors, getting poked and prodded. No fun.
Yeah,
It
really.
sucks. It sucks when you start to get older.
Yeah, bro. I turned 29 this week, and I joined, I mean, but I joined a bowling league this
Yeah.
week,
Hey, how'd
Candlepin
that go?
Bowling. It was fun. Like it was cool. I definitely did my part to bring down the average age in the room by like a solid decade. So that was fun. But there
We
were a
tend to
couple
have a
young
habit
guys.
of that, it seems these days.
Listen, but it was cool. It was fun. And listen, this is Candlepin. So this is the tiny, not 10 pin, not the full,
Right.
finger going in the ball, 20 pounds
Right.
rolling down, whatever. Tiny little, my dude, my legs still hurt. I don't know. I went bowling for the first time in 10 years
Yep.
and my legs hurt.
Yep.
This is not good. And listen, we'll talk later about thoughts, dreams, goals for 2026, but all I'll say is it's been a solid year since I've been to the gym, and it's probably about
Yeah.
time that I rectify that again. So
hmm
we'll see. We'll see.
Life
But
is
it was
better when
fun.
you're active.
Yeah, yeah. But bowling was fun. The people were cool. We went out for drinks after. It's a good time. So
Yeah, that's cool. Where'd you guys go? The place that we
yeah, a little
yeah.
dive bar downtown. But it was, and I spent, again, this is a skill. I spent like just half an hour talking to like, there was one guy there who was my age. I was like, okay, Sean, you seem cool. Da da da. I spent half an hour talking to his dad. I was like, how did I end up? I'm trying to meet people in my age group, and I talked to the dad was wicked cool. Like I'm not complaining, but I'm just like, what are we doing?
That's funny.
So
Yeah,
that was
getting
fun.
you always hear getting old sucks growing up, right?
Right.
And it's
Yeah.
like even you with bowling, you get sore after bowling. It's like, damn it.
Right. And I'm not even 30. Like, what are we talking about? Yeah. So
I
I'm
remember
always saying
jumping
I'm
off.
too young to be this old.
I remember jumping off like the tailgate on my truck and being totally
Okay.
fine. And now it's like
Right. Once upon
I
a time.
never do that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's sorry. I was about to go into a whole tangent of like, you ever like you're falling asleep and you're just like worst case scenarios like just
hmm
running through your mind. I'm like, oh my God, what if I'm like in bed and there's a fire in the kitchen and I can't get out and I need to jump out the bedroom window? Like, am I gonna break my leg? Yeah, just as I'm trying to drift off to sleep. Like these are just the things that
I can't say
these
I
are
quite
just
relate to that, but
all right.
I've never
Well,
had
yeah,
anxiety in my life until recently. I will say
right.
that. I've been
Yeah.
super lucky.
Yeah, it's interesting. You learn to live with it more or less. So Um, it is what it is, but we are here for a bright and early episode 2 edition of the Working Theory podcast. Excited to have everyone along, excited to be back, um, and excited to dive into some of the big topics of the day, both around the world and in our own lives here. Now, JP, recently, as you know, and hopefully we'll be getting this episode out soon enough that this is still relevant. Although even if it's not, part of me is like it might actually be good for us to talk about this now, close to, while the iron is still hot. But if it comes out a little later, people have had time to settle down on things a little bit. It's not so much sensational in the news. People get to form their opinions and then jump back in with our thoughts here. So that could be a good thing as well.
Right.
But there's a lot going on in Minneapolis over situation with an ICE officer and a woman in an SUV, and I'm sure everyone's seen the headlines by now. I wanted, before we jumped into any of the sort of details, the specifics about this incident and our thoughts on that. You've talked about how you have previous law enforcement experience of your own. I would just love to hear some of your thoughts, some of your experiences, particularly in the day and age of cell phone cameras and body cams. How has that impacted your work? How has that factored into your experiences when you were in that line of work?
Yeah. Well, I mean, body cams are definitely uh, a good cop's best friend. You know, they've limited uh, discretion, if you will. I think to an extent because what you used to be able to get away with on the good side of things, where it's like you're cutting people breaks, can't really do anymore because it's everything's
Sure,
recorded.
sure.
But in general, you know, when I started, we didn't have body cams, and then we worked our way into them. And at first, you're like, oh, I hate this. I don't want to wear a camera on me when I'm going to the bathroom and stuff. Which it's not that it's on, you know, but
Hmm.
it
I didn't even
it
think about
definitely
that. Yeah,
is.
I guess the camera's as long as you're in uniform, the camera's always there. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I mean, you can turn it on and off, and we had a really good policy. We had a really good admin, really good chief, and so they were fine with us keeping it off, you know, unless we were actually doing police work. But
Sure.
still, it's weird having a camera, you know, pointing at
Hmm.
you, or not pointing at you, but pointing at everything you're
Uh,
looking at, you know.
yeah.
So that was at first like an uncomfortable thing, but then you start to realize, typically, like your job as a cop is to get lied to.
Hmm.
You get paid to get lied to. That's just going to happen every single day.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's easy to remember the truth than to remember, you know, a false story. So when you do end up having to go to court and you have to go in front of the judge and all that stuff, and they, you know, go through discovery, and they pull the camera up, it's like, oh, so, you know, Joe Dirtbag, you said this happened. Here's the camera footage.
Yeah.
You know, perspective is everything, which is why I think that this whole ice incident is really important, because the first round of footage that you see that got released, by now
Hmm.
the uh, the officer that was actually involved in the shooting, his perspectives come out now, so we can talk about that in a second. But the
Yeah.
first perspective that you see is from the driver's side rear, and
Hmm.
you can't even see the ICE agent that's in front.
Right. Right.
When I heard that the first round went through the windshield, what that tells to me, what that tells me is he was in front of the vehicle,
Hmm.
and the
That would
vehicle
make
you
sense.
see is accelerating before you hear the
Yes.
first shot go off.
Right.
So to me, if I'm, you know, if I was still on the job and I'm on a stop and I'm in front of a vehicle for whatever reason, I'm trying not to be in front of vehicles. That is
Sure.
one thing. But if I am in front of a vehicle and I hear that engine start to rev and see the tires start to spin on the ice and it's coming at me, to me
Mhm.
that's I'm in fear for my life.
Sure. Well, I would imagine so. And listen, I know we've already established just in the first, 10 minutes here that I'm an old man, that we're old. I don't want to be old, cranky, old crotchety, but I was raised that if I, because I've never worked in law enforcement, I've never been on that side of things. Just as a civilian, as an individual, I feel like I have been taught that if I'm ever in any sort of interaction with a law enforcement individual, like compliance is key. No,
Yeah.
no, like no fast even if you're just being pulled over because you were speeding, it's you get your license and your registration first, both hands on the wheel when they come over so that they can see them. You follow instructions, yes sir, yes ma'am. Like I even remember I was freaking out one day. I got pulled over. I knew I had a bad inspection on my old SUV, and I was just kind of hoping it would fly under the radar. Finally get pulled over by a statey, because and so I pull over. I grab my registration out of the glove box, and as I'm getting my license out of my wallet, I fumble it and it falls in the crack, between
Yep.
the seat, the
In the
console
void.
there. Yes, yes. And immediately I was like, okay, like that sucks, but I was like, I have my registration ready. I'm like, the officer's already walking up. I'm not gonna rummage in there. I'm not gonna, oh, one sec, I'm gonna wait till they get to my car. I'm gonna hand them the registration. I'm gonna tell them I have my license. It fell in here while I was, can I go get it? Said yes. I said, okay, pull it out, hand it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm going this way because I've noticed that officers start coming to the passenger side a lot more now instead of on the, especially if you're side
Mhm.
of the road. But I've had that once or twice if I do get pulled over where, and I don't mean to say that I get pulled over all the time, but the few times it's happened, I feel like they're coming to the passenger side a lot. But I was, it was all very, and I didn't have a problem. The officer was like, yes, fine, like, do what you got to, so I reach in there and but I can imagine very easily if I'm a police officer and I just walk up to the car and I see
Mhm.
someone with their hand down, I'm probably pulling my gun. I'm probably
Yeah.
taking a step back. and
Hmm.
I'm raising my voice and I'm like, what's going on? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like, people, I think it's people need to understand that. Like,
What?
there is a way that you can interact with police officers. There's even a way you can protest law
Yeah,
enforcement activity,
that's fine.
but there's a right way to do it. You know what I
Right.
mean? And I don't. I mean, I can already hear everyone on the internet and social media trying to already claim that I'm blaming the victim. I'm just saying, in my interactions with any form of law enforcement in any form of circumstance, I feel like what I was taught and what I always try to abide by is compliance, not just to be a doormat, but for my safety and for their safety. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, at
And
the
it
end of
just
the day, it's a
surprises
job.
me. Right,
It's the same thing as being a server, or I mean, realistically, law enforcement is essentially like the service industry.
sure.
At least that's how I've come to see it. So
It's an
you
important one,
don't,
but it is, yeah,
yeah. But a lot of people, they look at the badge, they look at the gun, they look at the uniform, and they see like, authoritarian and all that stuff. When the majority of cops are just normal dudes. You
hmm
know what I mean? They're just guys that want to get home to their daughter's soccer practice or something.
right,
It's
yeah,
You know what I mean? And that's why it's like your goal as when you go to work every day, whether you're going to work as a police officer, as a teacher, as a doctor, as a lawyer, as a janitor, as whatever, your goal at the end of the day is to go home,
yes,
right?
yes.
No matter what. And you want to go home safely. So unfortunately, when it comes to that job, there are inherent risks that come with it. And sometimes you have to do a little bit more to make sure that you get home.
Did you ever have any, like, it's a routine traffic stop, but you get up to the window and someone is a little feisty? Like, have you ever had any
Oh yeah.
situations in your
I mean,
experience?
that's actually, so I didn't do a lot of stops. I actually, my department kind of was, I would get in trouble for not stopping enough cars sometimes
Okay,
because I liked police work,
sure,
but obviously, traffic stops are a part of police work. So not to get too far into it, but yeah, I mean, unfortunately, when you make stops like that, you're gonna be, you're stopping somebody, and you don't know what their perception of law enforcement is, right?
sure,
You don't know what their last interaction with the cop was like.
sure.
So I would actually do the reverse psychology on them. And when I'd make a stop and I'd have somebody that was, a little feisty off the get go,
hmm
I would just kill them with kindness. And I'd usually try to cut them a break if I could, if it was
Sure.
realistic. I didn't write a ton of tickets, you know.
hmm
And my whole goal was, okay, this way, the next time that they interact with a police officer, they're more likely to be
Right.
kinder. And that's going to help them,
Yeah.
because when they have a good attitude going into their next interaction, the cop's going to have a better attitude reacting to them.
hmm And everyone is less likely to show up on the 7 a.m. news the next day. So no, and
Right.
that's good. But and I like that too, because that obviously in any interaction, like an interaction is a two-sided thing. Like there
Mhm.
again, I'm talking. This is how I try to, you know what I mean. But that law enforcement officer also obviously has their role in the interaction and their
Mhm.
responsibility to handle it properly. So going back to the specifics here in Minneapolis, like you said, I saw
Right.
those same videos that you did initially. It seems a little far away. It's from the other side of the car. Now that you've seen, and I apparently I was mistaken. I thought it was a body cam that this officer,
No.
apparently it was their own cell phone.
Yeah,
So
it
I
was a
was
cell phone.
mistaken on that.
Body cams are
Just
tough, man.
yeah,
You got to remember, right? So the department that I was on when it went from no body cams to having body cams, it was a smaller department. It was about 20
and
something
what year
cops.
was that, if you had to say?
I think that was probably 22 or 23
Okay, so
is
still
when
fairly
we
recent.
switched over. And I mean, just the date, just the storage for the video was going to
Right.
cost the town $2 million.
Wow. Yeah.
So you have to remember that we're storing dash cam footage, which is already
hmm
expensive, and we're also going to be storing your your body cam footage, and it's an incredible amount of money that goes into that whole network, and then
Yeah.
making sure it's a secure network, and then
Yep.
making sure that now you have to retain that footage for X amount of time, so
Right.
it can be FOIA'd or whatever.
Yeah.
It's an incredible cost. Like California Highway Patrol, they just got on. Their goal is by March of this year, I think they're going to try to have all. I think they have 6,700. Correct me if I'm wrong. They have an insane
You know
amount of
better than
cops.
me.
think about how many cameras that is and how much each of
Right.
those cameras cost, and then all of the
Right.
footage that
Yeah.
has to be
Yeah.
stored.
Yeah. And
It's
that's
funny
not to say
'cause
that it's not important, but it's very intensive when you think about the resources needed for sure.
right. Well, it's funny because body cameras, not necessarily first, but a lot of the campuses were the ones that were the first people to use them in our state.
Mhm.
Um, and now that everybody else is adopting them, a lot of the campuses are saying, "Hold on, we don't want that anymore," because they're starting to realize it's making their students look really bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because now all these interactions are, it's no longer he said, she said, and oh, that's just the
Right.
cop, he's trying to jam them up, or she's the cop, she's
Right.
trying to jam him up.
Right.
It's it's all out in the open now. So
Right. Well,
it's a
and
double-edged sword.
that's the unfortunate thing, the fact that narrative plays such an outsized role. Like obviously we should all be interested in nothing more or less than the facts, you know what I
Right.
mean? But once those facts come out, and if those facts start not to line up with, you know what I mean? Like I
Mhm.
and this was, maybe I should have just let it go, but I'm on Instagram last night, scrolling a little bit
Dangerous
before
place
bed.
these days.
It's listen for a number of reasons. And this guy I used to work with, I know I told you I used to work as a journalist for a little bit, a coworker that I had when I was at that job, working for local newspapers out here, just kind of on their story shared a screenshot of a tweet. So I didn't recognize who it was from, but it was something to the effect talking about the situation. And this is going to be a little controversial. I know we don't shy away from controversy here, but the point that this person was making was like, it's crazy how, all these people who called the killing of Charlie Kirk a travesty and
Mhm.
unacceptable are all of a sudden real quiet now that ICE murdered a woman in Minneapolis. That was their words. And I couldn't, it pissed me off. I had to be like, like ignoring the fact that, in my opinion, that's a massive false equivalence. Who's been real quiet? JD Vance spent half an hour like bitch slapping the media, whether you think he should have or not, whether you think he was right to do so or not. Like he has not been real quiet. He was someone who was very vocal about the Charlie
Mhm.
Kirk killing, and he's been very vocal about this situation. You may not agree, that's fine. But the point you're trying to make, the words you used are not based in
Apples and
reality. You know
oranges.
what I mean? Right, right. So it's like you can be mad. You can think this was unjust. You can think this was unfair. You can think the ICE officers in the wrong, but don't come in telling us that everyone's been real quiet because a lot of people on both sides have been very vocal about this. So,
Well,
but it's the facts. Those facts don't line up with that narrative, so they just ignore it and put the narrative out anyway.
right. So it's like, you know, policing isn't pretty. So to get back to the camera situation, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Unfortunately, a lot of these ICE guys, from my understanding, they're getting smarter and they're starting to record a lot of this stuff, but they're having to
hmm
do it with their, I don't know if it's their work phone or their personal phone. I hope
sure,
to God it's their work phone. Because
yeah,
if you record stuff on your personal phone, even if you're a town cop like I was,
hmm
uh, that whole device can be subpoenaed and they go all through it. And I mean, not that
yeah,
you have stuff to
yeah,
hide, but everybody's got stuff on their phone that they
sure,
don't necessarily
yeah,
want opened
right.
up to a FOIA request, right?
Right. A
So,
joke sent at 1 a.m. to your cousin,
right.
about who knows what can look very different. Yeah.
hmm And so hopefully these are their work phones, but they're recording a lot of their interactions as if they're body cams. And it's, I don't know. I mean, it's a weird system, but if it works, it works. I mean, it gave us his POV as
Yeah.
much as it could. But he also approached the vehicle interest. So like ICE can't like make a traffic stop, right? But that's
Sure.
not what this was. This wasn't a traffic stop. This was
Right.
a detention because these people were harassing or they were interfering with their official business.
Right. Right.
So when I mean ICE as federal agents are in commission of their legal and lawful duties. You can't
Sure.
interfere with that, and if you do,
Right.
they can detain you. So the lady was detained the second that the cop said stop, get out of the vehicle, and in their case the red and blues came on.
Mm-hmm.
That's when the detention started. Her continuing to fight back and the wife coming out and saying drive baby drive as there's an agent in front of the vehicle.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous, and we need to get to the point where we realize like activism is great. Activism is what started this country. I mean, the Boston Tea Party, the Boston Massacre, it all started right here, and it started from protest essentially. So
Yeah.
I'm not saying that we should outlaw protest by any means. I mean, we have
Right.
it's protected under the Constitution. But in all reality, we need to focus on like what is this new wave of protesting doing? These people are from a completely different state. You can tell because they don't know how to drive in the snow.
Mm.
And
Yeah, yeah,
what was the outcome? The
yeah,
outcome is you have somebody who's dead that nobody wants. The cops there, the agents there didn't want that.
yeah.
You have now a wife without without her spouse.
Hmm.
You have a tragedy, and you have this national meltdown,
Yeah,
almost reaching the George Floyd scale at this point from the
yeah.
protests.
Right,
All because what they wanted to either one go there to get social media likes or two go there because they felt that that was their place.
right. See, that's the thing, and
That's the
and to
point.
be clear, I want to make sure I'm saying because I'm with like this is tragic, like this is gut
Yeah,
wrenching. I see the video, I see like I don't
I don't want the death
like
of any
this.
American,
No, no,
especially
and
not like
it's
this.
no, it's ugly and it's beyond unfortunate and it's very sad. But I think you make a good point. Like I think the best case scenario is, someone is out there, like you said, kind of looking for that social media clout. And that's a
Mhm.
cynical way to think about it. But then you think about, well, okay, the worst case scenario is this woman did want to harm a law enforcement officer in the execution of his duty. Like that was
Right.
her explicit intent. Like
I
and
don't think
and
that that
and
was necessarily her intent, just to be
sure,
clear.
but that's
But
the range of
people are
possibilities.
weird,
You know what
man.
I mean?
And if
That's
I'm in
the
front of the car and you start to floor it,
yeah,
I'm going
yeah.
home. I'm going home at the end of my
Sure.
shift.
Right. Well, and listen, we this doesn't even need to. We'll have a whole Amendment debate another day about how, important it is that the police officers aren't the only ones who are armed, and why
Mhm.
that matters. But that's a different conversation for a different
Yeah, that's
day.
what I want to have Ty on for that because him and I have some
Yeah.
different views. I'm more of an
Yeah.
absolutist with 2A. He's a little more restricted.
Sure. No, and I look forward to that conversation because again, that's another, I'm coming from the point of I held an unloaded firearm and with the safety on and still almost shit my pants. So I'm looking forward to having that conversation as well. But yeah, no, I'm with you, man. It's tragic. I listen from the videos I have seen, and I do think it's a good thing that we can see these videos and again come to our own conclusions. Not that and that's the other thing. I'm not the judge. I'm not the jury. Like this is all going to be investigated. This is all there's a process that this all goes through. My 2 cents is it looks to me like the officer was justified in what they did to defend themselves. But
It
there's a whole, process that needs to happen anytime an officer, discharges a firearm, so
it was a good shoot all day. Um, but like I said, leading back to the whole body cams and just the modern day, having like I said, backtracking to a little bit ago, policing isn't always pretty. It's not
right.
always pulling a kid out of a fire or going and buying lemonade from a kid at a lemonade stand.
Yeah,
As a cop, like you, and I give the guys that are still on the job the utmost respect because every
yeah,
day you are dealing with the people's worst case scenario. When you
yeah,
call the fire department and the fire department shows up, everybody loves them. I know that because I
yeah.
did that job too. And
Hmm.
then when I switched over to law enforcement, it went from I show up and everybody's happy to see me to 9 out of 10 times I show up and it's like automatically you're the asshole, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
So it's, I mean, it's a weird dynamic, and you're spending 8 to 16 hours a day just living in the worst of the worst.
yeah,
People aren't calling you because they're having a good time.
right, right.
So,
It's not all
now that
coffee and
that's all
donuts.
being recorded
Yeah,
and shared, it's like, all right, yeah, you get your fun videos, like that some creators have made, a great brand on doing breakdowns and all that stuff. But then you get your really gnarly ones that it it's bad. It's
sure.
bad,
And
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 it's not.
it's worth pointing out too, there's a certain we can't see everything. Every single day, there are situations all across the country, all across the world. You pick one out of a hat, sometimes the cop is going to be in the wrong. You pick one out of the hat, sometimes
Well, yeah,
there's a tragedy, but the cop
cops are
did what they
humans, man. They
needed
ain't
to.
perfect.
Right, right. But it's just, but we live in a world where even with social media, and even when you can look for content or have an algorithm feed you content, tailored to a certain whatever. Like there's just going to be so many things that don't even make the news, is all I'm trying to say. Like there's every day there's
Yeah.
situations, there's violence, there's shootings. We see, what we see, what gets covered, but there's so many more that just don't even see the light of day, unfortunately.
One big thing is like as a cop, you're judged on a decision that you make in a split second,
Right.
you know, months after the fact.
As a
When
whole,
all
right,
the,
that
you
one
know,
moment
you
defines.
have a split second to make a decision, and then you're going to be judged by not only the judge and jury, but the media and society for
Yeah,
eternity. And
right.
that's a lot of pressure to when you really think about it. I mean, imagine like gun to your head right now, you have to make a decision, and then the rest of eternity it's going to be looked over in case law and studied. And
Yeah. Yeah, and sometimes quite literally gun to your head. So
yeah,
listen, I've got a
case
lot of
law is actually
respect for
that
the
would be a good
people.
one for us to talk when Ty's back on,
Okay.
because him and I can go back and forth and share some cool stuff.
Yeah, no, let's do it, man. I like having these conversations. I like having my own mind opened up, learning new things. There's always a lot to learn. Well, that I'm glad we got to talk about that.
Yeah,
I think, and again, we'll let people come to their own conclusions. Those are
yeah,
those are our thoughts. I did want to switch gears a little bit. It's 2026. It's the new year. I'm personally not huge on like New Year's resolutions in the kind of
I gave
cheesy,
up on
corny
those a
sense.
long time ago, man.
But it's always good to just think about what's new and think about the new
Yeah,
year. So I put it to you to start as we come into this new trip around the sun. What are you looking forward to? What are some goals you have? What do you, whether in your own life and projects that you're working on, podcast included, just what are you looking forward to in 26?
yeah, man. I mean, we're going all in with this podcast. I want to see this thing freaking blow up. And on my personal side, just try to grow the business, try to finish, or continue with school and get close to finishing. Um, as some may know, I'm back in school right now for construction management and civil engineering. So, going to try to keep hammering down with that. Ran into some complications recently with that, so we'll see how it continues. But
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, just try to grind it out. I mean, you get what you get what you put in, and so putting our all into this podcast and just trying to
Yeah,
create a really good platform for open debate, open speech, get some really cool guests on. I've got a
totally.
couple in the pipeline. I know Nick's got a few.
Yeah, we're
So
excited about that for sure.
yeah, we're gonna just try to really push as much good content out for you guys as we can.
Yeah. Are you, I forget if I've ever asked you, are you the kind of guy to like explicitly write down like a 5-year plan type, or do you just kind of
Capital
aim
planning
for a
sort of thing.
direction?
So
Yeah,
I
like
I
what's
actually do a weird thing with myself. I make contracts with myself and I put them in
okay,
my safe with a date. And if I
okay,
haven't fulfilled what I promised myself to do, then I have to put X amount of money into an account, and it's like a
damn.
so even when I fail, it's still
Sure. No, but that's a good, I mean, that takes a lot of discipline, but that's a really cool way to do it,
yeah,
holding your future self accountable to your past self in a
yeah.
concrete way. I think that's
One of
really
them is
cool.
at least get into law school by 2030.
Okay, there you go. Do you have any what's the dream? We talking Suffolk, we talking Stanford, we talking what's the
I mean, Yale would be ideal, but I'll take anywhere that'll take me, man.
there you go. There you go. Cool, man. No, well, that's good stuff. And yeah, I mean, I'm on this again, as far as the podcast goes, I'm very excited. Like you say, and a lot of guests that I think would be really good to have on. I appreciate, listen, we don't get paid to say it, but we use the podcast platform, and so far it's been so good as far as editing and now recording, the fact that we can jump on from anywhere. So we appreciate them and making this a reality. But being
That's
able
their
to,
one
right, I
free
mean,
plug.
that's the only one they're getting, but hey. Um, the fact that we could bring people in from anywhere, we can do this remotely today,
Yep.
and we can get back in person again soon. So
We do want to work on
everyone,
building a studio at some point.
yeah, yeah, we'll figure that out. We'll find some nice cheap office space. Listen, people. You're
Yep.
Mr. Construction and Property. You'll find someone who will give us a good deal. But yeah, I think for myself, I mean, so my biggest thing is I've been doing Lyft for a year. I've been driving for rideshare, and it's been good. I enjoy it, and it's been keeping me busy. But I'm definitely at a point, not where I'm like I don't want to quit that yet. I don't really think I'm in a place where I'm ready to. but I want to start finding other, you know, you listen, your inspiration feels like a strong word. Don't get too big of a head, but the way that you find ways to have a lot of different things going on at the same time and manage a lot and different income streams, different projects, I think that's a cool thing. And that's always something I'm trying to be better at is
It
managing
is
my
a
time well enough to
it
get
is a
everything. You know what I
long,
mean?
long life, man.
Yeah. Hey, listen. We're doing what we can. So yeah, so I think for me for 26, I'm planning on sticking with Lyft, but I really want to pour a lot into the podcast here. I want to see what other doors open, what other projects I can work on. I've done a little bit of YouTube in the past, a little bit of blogging in the past, and some of those things like that. If I could get back into that,
I was
I'd be
impressed when
excited
I
to
found
see.
your YouTube channel.
Yeah, I
Before
appreciate
we
that.
really started even talking about this stuff, I found it.
Yeah.
You want to plug what it is? Where can we find you
Well,
on
so
YouTube, Nick?
I've got a couple. I've got two, and neither of them I've really touched a little bit. But there was the one that I really poured a lot into this last year was I started calling it Squad Talk. I might have changed the name to Boon Squad.
Yeah, Boon Squad is the one.
Yeah, so it's all BOON Boon Squad, or maybe it's the Boon Squad, but it's all soccer content. I'm really big in high school. I got into English soccer. I support a team called West Ham United. It's pretty miserable. They're playing right now. I actually don't even know where they're at. But it's not been a good season. But I got really big into that. Oh, we're winning. Well, that's good. Things can always change, but half an hour to go, we're up. Um,
So are
so I
you
got
big into
really
like
big
the
into
European leagues, like Manchester?
yeah, English. Yeah, so the Premier League, West Ham is in the same league as Man U. Yeah, so they're there, but I pay a little bit of attention to some of the European leagues as well. And then when it comes to national competitions like the Euros, like the World Cup this summer, I like to pay attention to that as well. But I got really big into they have their own fantasy football. Obviously, they call it football. And so I was out of it for a little bit. I got back into it. The problem was I was having a lot of, and I started the season really well. The way they do it, I'll try not to talk your ear off. They normal like you and me, if we do fantasy football, it's like you and 11 buddies, and you all get in a league, and you all put up $20, and you show up on draft night, and you drink some beers, and you pick your guys, and you're only up against that group of people.
Right.
The way they do it is the league is everybody. You open up your account, you start the season, you're given a budget of 100 million pounds, and every player has a certain cost. And within certain parameters, you just build the best team you can, and those prices can go up and down throughout the season, but you're up against everybody. And so this year, that I mean, I think there's about 12 million teams. Like it's for the English league, but people play worldwide. 12 million teams, and at one point within the first few weeks, I was in like the top 100,000, right around the
Wow.
top 100K in the world, which was going great. But then I was like, I want to do YouTube and I want to make content. So like
Right.
here, I'm gonna do this challenge. Like if I don't get a high enough score on this video game, I have to sell all the players on my team, which was fun, but it meant that I tanked the hell out of my team, and so it was a bad idea. So
I think that
this
what's
season kind of feels like a wash at this point, but
yeah. Well, what's crazy to me is I've never been like a huge, watching sports guy.
hmm
I played baseball growing up.
hmm
I attempted to play basketball. Um, I was a pretty good point guard up
there
until
you
uh,
go.
up until I wasn't, and then I got coined the nickname Rubbish Boy by this Filipino guy that was on our team, and I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it probably not for me.
That's tough.
Um, but no, I love playing sports, but I have such a hard time watching. My brother
Sure.
races, you know, professionally, and so like I'll watch him when he races on TV, and
hmm
I fully support that, but I
hmm
just can't. I have a hard time. But what I do find interesting, especially about soccer, is it
hmm
Premier League? Is that what they call it?
Yeah, Premier League. Yeah,
Yeah, is the finances behind it.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, these
Listen, that's the
people look
whole
at these as sports
conversation.
teams, but really they're massive businesses. And
hmm
that's one thing that I want to dive into is just like the economics of that stuff. Not
Yeah,
necessarily now on this podcast, but I want to do
sure.
my own learning because I
Yeah,
know that. I mean, you look at a sports team in America, it might cost a few billion, but Manchester United is worth like 100 billion or something
and
crazy like
they're global brands. The amount of money coming in, the amount of money going out, like
that.
on
Yeah.
players, on marketing, on whatever. Like it's a whole. And then you get into the fact that like one of the big stories of the last few years was this club Newcastle United up in the northwest of England, which is a very if you're from the northwest of England, you're very proud of being from the
Mhm.
northwest of England. It was all, it's strong. Yeah. Anyway, just up in the, and very, very strong history to this club, but they had a few off years and they were struggling. And then all of a sudden, along comes the Saudi Arabian, Royal Wealth Fund,
Right.
comes along, purchases the team. And again, a lot of people have a lot of strong opinions, understandably, about that. But, big influx of cash, and all of a sudden they're doing really, really well. You know what I mean? So,
The
um,
Saudis have been getting their hands into a lot of different sports because they even started
yeah,
up, a rival to the PGA.
yeah, golf,
You know,
motorsports, they've been big in F1, like,
yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
there's,
F1 is, you want to talk about economics in the sports. F1 is just an insane.
yeah, yeah,
I can't believe it. I mean, so Cadillac, did you see Cadillac's got a team that
yes.
they put
And I'm
together
excited too.
for this
Yeah,
year? It's going to be interesting. We haven't had a
yeah,
U.S. team since Haas,
yeah, but they're kind of
which
a joke.
was,
So,
yeah. Well, unfortunately, they didn't perform too well.
yeah,
I,
yeah.
I had
So,
higher hopes for them. I'd
yeah.
love to see an American driver back in.
Yeah. Well, so what? Colton Herta, isn't he American? He's going to be on like the F2 level next year, I think.
Yeah,
So we'll see. Oh,
I have a
well,
buddy.
literally as I they scored, QPR equalized. I
Here you
swear to
go.
God, within the last 5 minutes. It's my fault for checking, but just like that, we're back at level pegging. So
I have a
yeah,
buddy
no,
down
but
in Maryland that he got into racing after he left the army, and he got into like the
mhm,
go kart stuff, which is like what the feeder is for that, F3, F2
yeah,
stuff. But I mean, I don't think he's ever gonna pursue it. He probably could. He turned out to be a really good driver, you
yeah,
know. But
yeah.
no,
No,
it's
I
it's
listen.
it's interesting.
I'm too tall for that stuff, man. I would love to race. I would love to figure, but I barely fit in the go-kart. I'm all, yeah. So wasn't meant for me, unfortunately.
Wasn't in the cards.
No. But I mean, listen, talking about 26, I am excited to see how Cadillac does. The two drivers they picked, Sergio Perez and Valtteri Bottas, are both fun guys. So I'm looking forward, because that's the
I
thing
love
about
Valtteri.
F1, right? Well, because that you like
He
in a,
he got
in
he got
most.
so screwed over with Mercedes, keeping him as
Yeah.
number two.
And
I
Perez
mean,
too. They were
yeah,
both the number two guys that kind of got underrated because they were, so now they get to shine a little bit more, I hope.
yeah.
So,
Fingers crossed. It's
but
going to be interesting. So
yeah.
2026.
Hmm.
What are some predictions that you think might happen? What do you think we're going to find out?
Ooh,
Do you think we're going to find out about aliens?
get the bingo card. Hey, listen, I honestly I'm here for it if we do. I was meaning to ask you guys the other, when we were hanging out the other night, and one of our buddies who we want to have on here as well, and you guys are all you talking a little bit about aliens. I I don't know if I'm super, super, super pro let's go to Mars. Like
Right.
please, we need, the moon was great. We need to keep going. That needs to be, as Americans, we need that inspiration to see we
Mhm.
can do this. As humans, I think it's incumbent on us to explore what else is out there. And I do think there's stuff out there, but I'm like, let's make it happen, man. I really, obviously it's gonna take a while. If we started today, it would take years to get there, but I hope we get there.
Well, we've been having stuff in the pipeline for a long time. I mean, I couldn't even tell you the year that we had our first lander land on Mars, but I mean, we know how
Hmm.
to get there. It's once we
Yeah,
get back to the moon. I mean, Artemis is going to be huge
yeah,
in
yeah,
February of this year.
yeah.
That's going to be the furthest space flight from Earth that any humans have gone on that we know of.
Wow.
So, but once
That
we
we
develop,
know of.
well,
That we
you never
know
know.
of. Hey, listen, I like it. I like
But
it.
conspiracy theories aside, I mean, it makes sense to build a launch platform on the moon because
Hmm.
then you're not having to escape Earth's gravity. We can bring fuel
Yep.
back up there to, you know, it, it'll be more economically efficient. It's going to be a little bit
Yeah.
more on the front end. But no, getting to
Yeah.
Mars is going to be huge. I mean,
Yeah.
trying to terraform a planet, that's going to
Yeah.
be incredible. But even just establishing a base up there.
Sure.
I mean, we have the ISS, which we can
Hmm.
use as kind of you know, a blueprint, to start with. Which, by the way, did you hear they're crashing the ISS soon?
No. What?
Yeah, I guess the plan is to in a few years they're going to scrap it and they're just going to
Jeez.
adjust its course a little bit so it comes in it comes in the atmosphere and
Interesting.
blows up.
I heard something once about how, and like obviously if there was a way to avoid this, they would have done, because these physicists, they're smart people. But like there's something about the orbit, it always kind of falls back in, so they need to boost it, and then
Yep.
they, and so if it ever ran out of, like the life support, if they were stuck up there and there was no
Mhm.
fuel on the ISS, the life support would last longer than the time it would take for it to crash. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
they wouldn't die because they ran out of oxygen. They would die
right.
because they hit, you know what I mean? So maybe they're just trying to get ahead of that. I don't know, but
Well, I know that the ISS is it's technically not in space. It's technically still in the
sure,
atmosphere.
it's right on the
You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
we call it the space station, but it's really not in space.
yeah,
Um, so it's that's another thing with this whole with Artemis too. It's going to be the first time that we really put Americans back in space.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
No, I'm excited, man. Well, what do you give me? Hit me with what you got as far as aliens go.
I
What's your thoughts on that?
Ty and I have we especially that through Atlas we were going back and forth because he was dead set. That's an alien ship. I'm like it's a freaking rock from space, which to me is almost more concerning because if that's the third interstellar object that's randomly popping through, is it that we're just finally able to actually identify them and track them, or is it that there
Sure.
was some sort of an event that happened, you know,
Yeah,
in our galactic neighborhood where
yeah,
something big happened and it's throwing shrapnel towards us that you know
yeah.
I think that a good indication that there is something out there was just following Trump's first inauguration in 2016. There was a few months there where he was like, oh, it's the general consensus was like, okay, the guy from The Apprentice is the president now. What do we do? And you got to think that like national intelligence probably was like, okay, well, we got to tell him everything, and so they told him, and all of
Sure.
a sudden he's like, we need a space army. you
Right?
know, to,
Yeah.
to me, I'm
That
like,
doesn't
that's
just
a
come out of
telltale
nowhere.
sign. You
Yeah,
know, I mean, it makes sense to protect our assets in space and all that stuff. Space is the
sure.
next frontier, but
Yeah.
at the
But
same
hey,
time, it's like I bet you that he got pulled into a room and was like, hey, listen, here's what's really going on, and he was like, we need an army, we need an army in space. I can't do the voice, but it's like I could see that being a thing. Which, if
yeah,
that's the case, it makes total sense. I mean, the Space
yeah,
Force has been well received on kind of both sides of the political aisle,
right.
especially congressionally, which kind of tells you that. But at the
Hard to
same time,
believe.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
right, right. Again, when you run it by people who know things that we don't. Yeah.
Yeah, in my mind, we are so tiny, so it's so hard for us
Hmm.
to even try to grasp this kind of stuff. And I'm not a astrophysicist. My brother is pretty much an astrophysicist. He's like Sheldon Cooper. The
Yeah,
guy's a
yeah.
genius. But in my opinion, I think that alien life exists. I don't think that we're ever going to see it because I
Okay.
think space is just too vast. I think that that's like the best yet worst, loneliest, reality is
Yeah,
there's no way that organic life would be able to travel that vast distance
yeah,
physics, as far as physics go. I could be
yeah.
wrong. I probably am, and somebody's going to correct me on it. And I can't wait for it because I want to
Yeah,
learn more about it. But
yeah,
from my
yeah,
understanding, I mean, we sent out Voyager 1 and 2 in what, the 70s?
yeah.
And they're one light day away from us now.
Now,
Think
yeah,
about how long it took them to get that far. I mean,
right.
there are people who have been born and passed away in that time frame.
Wow. Yeah, it's true.
And that's to get one light day away. The nearest potential star is like that would have, a planet, an exoplanet in the Goldilocks zone is like I think 40 light years away or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's a good
It's a
point because
lot to even
it's
think about.
yeah, I know it's scary. It is scary to, but it is sort of a catch-22 in the sense of like the universe is so vast, it's hard to believe that there isn't something else out there. But by that same token, the universe is so vast, it's hard to believe that we would ever run into it if you know what I mean?
Right.
And now, of course, granted, that's not to say that they don't know how to get to us. Who knows?
Which is
I'm
terrifying if it
sure.
is. If that's the case,
uh,
it's absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, and I'm sure we as a right, we're always going to keep working on it because this is who we are as people. You know what I mean? Like it started with humans crossing the oceans. You know what I mean? Like that it's just there's this instinct to explore, to venture beyond. And I love that. I think that's part of what makes us who we are, just as a common humanity. But um yeah, so I think if you give us hundreds or thousands of years, if we can, keep things going decently enough, I think there will be people who are like, oh yeah, this is how you travel faster than light. This is how you manipulate space itself. This, like I'm sure we'll get there. You and I and our great 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 grandchildren won't be there to see it, but like we'll get there.
So I like your analogy with, the early people, early or not early Americans, but early humans that got on boats and, sailed across the ocean. Think about the psychology behind that, though, right? Say you're living in
Sure.
England and
Hmm.
you're living in essentially a city and you have everything you need, and you're like, you know what? I'm gonna pack myself, my family, and all our stuff onto this wooden boat, and we're gonna sail that way for 6 months and
For as long
maybe
as,
find
yeah,
something.
yeah,
Like we heard there's a settlement there. We don't really know how to get there, but we're gonna figure it out.
sure.
Like
Right.
that's insane. I mean, Australia is the one that. I mean, don't get me wrong. The people that went from England to the original colonies here in America, they were they were kind of wild, which is why America became what it is, right?
Yeah,
But think
yeah,
about Australia. Think about that voyage back then. I mean, that is just an insane amount of time to be on a boat that's made out of wood, going through the ocean, through storms, through
right.
whatever. You have no there's no meteorology back then. You don't know when
Yeah,
storms are going to happen.
right.
You can't tell when swells are going to be popping up in
You're
this
lucky
country.
if you still know where you are on the map.
Literally. And back then there were still people that thought you could sail off the edge of the earth.
Yeah, right.
So it's like, whoa,
Yeah.
those those must have been some pretty crazy mother truckers. And then
Right.
now, hold on. Let's put that into terms of aliens. If there are
Mm,
aliens that are willing to leave their utopia and jump on a ship and go that far from their home, they're
sure.
probably the rowdier of the bunch,
Sure. Yeah.
and
Fair.
that
Fair.
scares me.
Yeah. I mean, and listen, you talk about like I've heard, not to dive too deep into it, but like you'll find the people who are like, well, why was it gold? Why did ancient humans like why has gold always been, you know what I mean?
It
Like
is
they
bizarre,
way back, and then you come to find out, oh my God, it's a phenomenal conductor of electricity, and it's actually really important when it comes to like electronic applications. And it's like, huh, that's a
especially in
weird
space travel.
coincidence. Like that's a funny. I wonder what, you know what I mean? And it's like, oh geez, I wonder. And then you get into, yeah, I wonder if any beings have already come and gone, you know what I mean?
Right.
And things that knew more than we did. And yeah, so
What's
it's a deep rabbit hole, and I'm here for it.
imagine? I like to a lot of the time. I like to think about firsts, right? Like the
Hmm.
first humans to be like, "Oh, gold, shiny. Oh, diamonds, shiny."
Yeah.
Like I'm going to use this to trade, and then like somebody had to be the first one to be like, "Hey, I'll give you this shiny rock if you give me that."
Hmm.
And like
Yeah.
how it evolved over the years, but like I always think about first, like especially when it comes to like you know, like even cigarettes. Who was the
Hmm.
first one to be like, we're gonna take this, we're gonna grow this plant, or we found this plant in nature, right? We're
Hmm.
gonna dry it out, we're gonna
Hmm.
mash it up, we're gonna roll it up and whatever. How I don't know how exactly cigarettes are made. I've never smoked, but you know what I mean. And then we're gonna light it on fire and inhale it. And it's
Hmm.
like, where did that come from?
Yeah.
You know, even the
I mean,
natives with ayahuasca or not ayahuasca, peyote. Same thing. It's like they
sure.
just smoke. Were humans, early humans, just running around smoking random plants?
It was the natural selection of smoking. Just try everything, and whatever doesn't kill you, keep going with that. Yeah,
Because
no, and listen, you can say the same thing with fermenting alcohol. You can say the same thing with
yeah,
drinking the milk of other mammals. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of questions of like
dude,
how
milk
did
is
that
weird.
start? How did
Milk is
we?
weird. That used to be cream and cherries or milk and cherries or whatever used to be like
Hmm.
a big dessert in America in the 1800s. I forget which president. He was the president. He was one of the shortest terms because he died in office, and he died because he drank milk and cherries in the summer.
Okay.
And he got sick somehow and just who was that?
I mean, there's Warren Harding. Sorry, Warren Harding had a pretty short term. Um, this can't be bad for my Google search history. Presidents who died.
Zachary Taylor,
Okay.
12th president, died in
Okay.
1850 after consuming cherries and ice milk at a 4th of July celebration, leading to severe stomach illness, likely gastroenteritis or cholera.
That's wild. That's crazy, bro.
Yeah, he's one of the
I didn't
shortest.
understand
I know that the shortest president died because he gave a speech, his inauguration speech, and he didn't wear a jacket, so he died from
it.
that. He
Life's
died
crazy.
from
How did we make it this far? It's 2026 and we're still here.
volume,
Like
man.
how?
If population didn't keep going up, we'd be toast. And unfortunately,
Oh
population is not
man,
still going up in America, at least. The rest of the
that's
world's still
crazy.
doing, but we're starting to get
It-
to a pretty scary birth rate.
yeah, yeah. Well, I think that's probably another topic for another day.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, okay, hot take. Do the I don't even know where I'm going with this. I'm like, do the aliens? I can't even say that out
Oh
loud.
boy,
I'll edit that out. I don't want to go there.
I want to hear it. Let's hear it.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. Is there an interspecies? Like, are the aliens trying to get freaky? You know what I mean? Like, is that on the
I don't
table?
think
I don't
so.
know.
I think that it would be a one in a billion, one in a trillion that they even get here. And
Sure.
if they do, I don't think that that's what they're here for.
Well, because and I guess the only because again we're in a like there would be the more sane point overall from that tangent is like there's so many things that could just be, laws of the universe or laws of physics
Right.
in our little neighborhood of Earth. Like
Yeah.
we don't know what life would look like and the rest that, you know what I mean? I was thinking it could be interesting. I'm like, what if we find a planet where the dominant life form is like intelligent plant species? And you say, how the hell could
Right.
a plant be? I have no idea. I don't know, but
But
I need to
it's
think about the
theoretically
things that I
possible.
think are impossible. Right, exactly. Because it's just so many things could be different, So I don't know. I don't know.
I mean,
I
in
hope we
theory,
get to
anything
see
is
at least a
possible.
glimpse of it in our life. I hope we just get to see a little bit of if anything's out there, what's out there, just to understand,
I think this year we might get. I mean, I don't know. I'm still waiting to hear about the New Jersey drones.
right? That's
You know,
fair. Yeah.
I mean, I do believe that those were that's our own stuff. I think that that was a
Hmm.
huge test. Um,
Sure.
I mean, you got to remember like AI has been around since before the internet. I think the
Sure.
first AI came out in like the 1950s,
Hmm.
and it was always government use and military use. We're just getting
Hmm.
it now in the
Yeah.
2020s. So,
Yeah.
figure that's 70 years behind is in general what the general public gets. So
Yeah.
imagine what 70 years advanced from what we have now is.
Yeah.
There's no telling what kind of propulsion systems or what kind of stuff that they're using.
Yeah.
And I mean, it could be aliens. It could be time travelers for all we freaking know. I think that it's honestly more likely that the stuff that we're seeing are
Yeah.
us in the future that have figured out how to
Mm.
come back than it is an advanced
Yeah.
intelligent life from
Fair.
another
Sure.
galaxy.
Yeah.
I As
That would be
weird as
something.
that sounds, I almost feel like
Hey,
that's
listen, because at least you're local, in a space sense. So
right.
yeah, listen, man, I'm here for it. We'll have one of these days we'll have a big blowout AI conversation. We'll talk about all of
Yeah,
that. I'm looking forward because I've got my thoughts and that's a conversation I look forward to having. But
no, 100%. Me too, man.
so this was pretty good for today, man. Did you have anything else you wanted to throw in? Any last words for the people here?
No, I think we hit on pretty much everything. I'd like to hear what they'd like for us to talk about. Any ideas? Leave in the
Yeah,
comments. You know,
let us know.
we'll get an info email set up or something like that soon,
Yeah,
where people
we'll
can
do
send emails.
something like that for sure. Cool. Well, until next time, then, this has been Working Theory. Thank you so much for listening. We look forward to talking to you guys again soon. Like we said, please make sure you like, subscribe, comment. Honestly, the best thing you could do for us right now is if you've got a buddy, you got a friend, you've got that uncle at Thanksgiving, just share the pod, share the episode,
Share it with all your
and
friends.
share your thoughts back with us. We'd love to hear them. So until next time, thank you guys. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, guys.